Hey, self-love. It's self-love, Sunday. So, I had to take that from Tanisha. Um, and I said what I said. I told you who I got it from. But I just flipped, a page in my book. So, I get right into it. Self-love, a poem from my book. Here it goes. Self-love is letting, I'm chilling right now. I'm in my bed, so I'm comfortable. Self-love is being my own best friend. Self-love is trusting myself in the end. Self-love is loving myself first before I love everyone else. Self-love is not degrading myself. Self-love is learning to do the inner work. Self-love consoles me like a brother. Self-love is not misdirected. Self-love is waiting for me to step into my healing. Self-love doesn't attempt to kill me. Self-love taught me resentment no longer serves me. Resentment no longer owns me. Let me say that again. Resentment no longer owns me. Self-love taught me to be still and wait on God. Self-love didn't bring me near a rope or cause himself false hope. Self-love sees his life from a different scope. Self-love told me to keep breaking mental barriers. Self-love told me to keep being my own. I'm sorry. Not saying sorry, but rewind. Self-love told me to keep breaking mental barriers. Self-love told me to stop being my own barrier. Self-love I used to have respect for. Self-love, it told me I wasn't worth fighting for. It's like a tug of war to find the words to say to myself when I wanted to be 6 feet under graves. Self-love was cliche, believing it was doing more for me than I could ever do for myself. Self-love is walking into a room and knowing I serve a purpose. Self-love is staring in the mirror, smiling to myself, and not calling myself worthless. Self-love is picking up shattered pieces and creating something beautiful. Self-love is knowing that every hardship makes a difference. Self-love doesn't keep me bed-bound for months. Self-love is patching mental scars, realizing who I am. Self-love is knowing where I stand in times of turmoil. Self-love taught me to be here for my family and legacy. The word legacy, I'm telling you, that alignment. Self-love taught me to fight those inner demons. Self-love doesn't remain isolated in a dark room for hours at a time. Self-love realizes he's someone's lifeline. Self-love is protecting my inner peace at all costs. Self-love is talking highly of myself. Self-love, especially when no one's watching. Self-love is not being fearful to call for help. Self-love didn't think he's less of a man if he calls for help. Self-love is loving the man in the mirror. Self-love is walking with my head held high. Self-love doesn't compare himself to others. Self-love doesn't think he's the biggest mistake. Self-love places worth on the highest shelf. Self-love reminds him of his potential. Self-love found faith in himself. Self-love doesn't off himself. Self-love is not playing the victim. Self-love is knowing I write the script. Self-love doesn't clutch blade towards his wrist. Self-love reminds me that I'm still worth it. Self-love taught me to keep holding on. Self-love teaches me I belong. It's like, this is the reason why when I first purchased my book and I read it to proofread it, there's a reason why I tell myself I'm not reading it in one setting, because I know what I've been through and I know some of the stuff in this book, but for some reason I still get like teary-eyed, because I'm like, well, I can't believe I lived this. It feels like a fantasy, and I'm taken back because during the pandemic it was a tumultuous time for me. It was a moment where I saw myself more fully, like, in my face, like the things that I wasn't able to deal with, like the rejection, and the resentment, and, self-hatred, neglecting my self-care, my self-worth, and putting my mental health on the shelf, and so to speak, and not putting it as a priority, and me a priority. I realized that I became my own barrier, because I realized I didn't really know how to cope with mental abuse. I didn't know how to cope with people who were criticizing me. And for a long time, I lived the narrative of I can't help myself. I can't love myself. I'm not valuable. All those things that I was claiming what I wasn't, rather than claiming who I am. And the reason why this poem is so important to me, and the reason why I wrote it, is because I tie in self-worth with one, how busy I am, but I really do tie self-worth with mental health. They're synonymous, because for me, in my opinion, without good self-love, self-love and grace for myself, there's no way I'm able to have good mental health. And that's just for me, and that's what I believe. And the self-love journey has been something that's been a constant pull, a constant whirlwind, in the sense of finding myself and finding my footing in life, and finding my purpose in the things that I was doing. As far as my career, what made me change my mindset was I decided to do a lot of inner work. I invested in the community. I decided to get with people who would, not only keep me accountable to what I am, but also challenge my beliefs. And a lot of people were seeing me in ways that I didn't see myself. And they viewed, I was in a music community, so for 4 years, so being in that community really helped me love myself, in the sense of like to see my potential, and to see that my music was worthy of being validated and being put out there and released. And I did honor that, and I respected that. And I'm looking at my book about, the lines that said, self-love is, not degrading myself, and it's learning to do the inner work. That the inner work is what I've been doing the last couple of years. Even during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of inner work, buying books, anything to change my psyche. Self-love is something that I struggled with a lot, because I was convinced that loving myself was not like morally good, or it wasn't something that I should be excited about. I was taught that, or brainwashed, that self-love is hating myself. And it was only because I was convinced that the things that people were saying about me or my music It taught me to hate myself. It taught me to be in a room closed off and isolated, and it kept me depressed because I was meditating on the wrong things. And at that time I didn't love myself. I didn't eat, times I didn't sleep, times where I was just over and over in my head repeating everything that people were telling me that was a lie. And I wasn't being true to who I was because I didn't love the person staring back in the mirror, because I didn't know how to validate myself. And that's the reason why I didn't love myself, because I was waiting on everybody else's validation to make me feel like I'm able to love myself. And that's the real truth. That's God's honest truth. Chasing validation, and this is about love. And the way I loved myself is I got the therapy, I got the healing, I invested in a community. I'm still in an accountability group. We meet almost every day. We talk it out, and I share things that are vulnerable with me. And that's for me loving myself, because I love myself enough to not be stuck in the same spot. And I know that's something that E.T. says too, but it's true for me, because I loved myself enough to get the help. I loved the people who are meant to serve enough to put out the record, to put out the music, to put out the EP, to release the book. The book is here, and it's real, and it's tangible, and it shows that this is a testament of resilience. This is a testament of legacy, And I always told myself, like, I want to leave something behind, that I was here and that I was able to make a difference. And the book is one thing that for me means legacy. My music will be, also something that is legacy for me, because it's building something and it's empowering other people to keep going. And some of these things that I say in this poem, like, self-love doesn't clutch blades towards his wrist, and self-love reminds me that I'm still worth it. Self-love tells me to keep holding on. Self-love tells me I belong. It's like those 4 last lines saying a lot to my self-discovery journey. It hasn't been easy. It has not been easy. I experimented with self-harm quite a few times when, I didn't feel like it was enough. And that's how I coped with dealing with depression, was I thought that self-harm was something that, was something that would heal me or make me feel better about my self-esteem. But in actuality, it didn't. It made me feel low. It made me feel less than. It made me actually feel worse than I was. And I realized that I didn't love myself because I didn't know how to love myself. And I think that goes back from being adopted and not knowing really who my real mother was. And, in a sense, I feel like possibly knowing that in my psyche I was projecting me wanting love and acting out in different ways that was indicative of me not knowing what love maybe felt like at the moment. And I'm not saying that I wasn't loved at all from other people. I'm just saying this in context of, it's just how I felt at the time of that as a possibility, a reason why I acted out. I just feel like self-love is such a loaded topic. It's about loving myself, healing, and it's about my potential, because at the end of the day, it's like loving myself enough to see my potential, to walk into my purpose, and to continue to walk in my power, and not feel like I have limitations for me. And yeah, self-love is a lot. Self-love is a lot to tackle, because there's so many layers of self-love. And I was my own barrier, at one point, because I was thinking of like times where I was stuck because I didn't know how to be grateful. I didn't know how to affirm myself. I learned how to reaffirm myself from Tanisha Sass, a life coach. So grateful for you, helping me in my self-love journey, in the sense of not harboring resent, and still showing myself love, and not beating myself up for reaching out to my mentor and wanting things to be a certain way, even though God will always do something for my benefit without me really realizing it, and then having to be still and know that everything happens for a reason, and I'm able to still love myself regardless, and give myself grace that I'm still learning. Um, and yeah, like, that self-love is about, for me, being someone's lifeline, because at the end of the day, it's like everything, the music that I put out is a reflection of loving myself enough to put out the record, and loving the people that I'm meant to serve. Yes, it's serving me, and healing me, but it's like loving myself enough, to do the work needed to be able to, like, physically go into the studio and just pour out my emotions, and in hopes that it will inspire other people, and I know it will. And just realizing that my purpose is limitless, and that I'm not a mistake. Like, I love myself enough to keep trucking, no matter what I go through. I'm resilient, I'm stronger, I'm better now. I'm always striving to do more, be more, have more, because, life is short, and it's like I don't necessarily, I won't settle for anything less than I deserve. For me, it's always been a struggle for me to really honor myself, because honoring myself meant letting go of the hatred that I had for myself. Um, and then I was also realizing that there was a time in my life where I wasn't committed to my inner work at all. I felt like I was able to just go through life and not really tackle some of the things that I was going through mentally. And what I realized is I had to constantly reevaluate the voices in my head, the people that were saying things that were negative, and I had to check that, because in order for me to really live a fulfilled life, I had to, and I got to do more introspective work on myself, in order for me to cultivate a different mantra, a different mindset. Because for me, self-love is doing the affirmations, is doing the meditations, is seeking therapy, which I still am. And by me doing all those things, it's a part of loving myself enough to continue to do the work, even when I don't see any results. And that is like one of the key takeaways. If you're here watching, and if you didn't take anything from what I said, just know that self-love becomes more accessible to you when you do the work. Excuse me. When you do the work, because when I did the work, I was able to see the ROI on my in my life. My life is not perfect, you know. I make mistakes. I am a human being, and I realize that every mistake and every lesson is a part of my healing and growing process as a human being, learning and living life, and learning about self-love and what it means like, and what I'm able to extrapolate and take from me and able to apply and use it to help other people to get the tools that they need to get going. But yeah, this is Self-Love Sunday. So if you haven't noticed, my book is available on Amazon. From Victim to Victor, Transforming Trauma into Triumph. Please order the book on Amazon. This book is healing. This book is transformative. For me, this writing was transformative. It is a powerful testament of my resiliency and also my will to keep going regardless of my struggles, and to be able to write about it and just, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I got through this, and I will definitely keep on doing these because these are helpful for me to be able to share my story. My desire that helps you share your story and to value yourself and your story and your worth. Remember, your past does not define you. If you order it on my website, the book, you will get this bookmark. Yes, I am victorious because my past does not define me. My logo on the back. Yeah, so and you get a postcard, a wristband. You get a couple add-ons with the purchase of my website. My website is on the bio, www.richvision.com. So it's richvysa1.com. If you would like to purchase a copy, I would greatly appreciate it, because it's not about selling a book. It's really about sharing my story with people. Because I honestly feel like my story is meant to be heard, seen, and not to be kept to myself. Because if it was meant for myself, I would have just kept it in the book on the shelf still, and still been, meditating if it was worth even putting out there. So I hope that inspires you to keep your story not on the shelf, but to actually put out the book, put out or chase the career path that you are on, and just live life unapologetically and honor your purpose and your path and what God's called you to be and become. So yeah, thank you so much for your watching and just listening, and because I appreciate your time, and hope you have a great day. Happy Sunday.